Ooh, this meeting is being recorded. Okay, so any questions, please put them in the chat box. I'm going to monitor the chat box, then direct the questions to Ken. He's going to go through his slide presentation and tell you about LinkedIn and the changes and networking and everything that comes with LinkedIn. We're also going to look at Ken's personal LinkedIn page, and he's going to go all through some of those things as well, just to give you hints and tidbits so you can get the most out of your time spent on LinkedIn. Okay, so we are going to get started. I want to introduce to you Kenneth Lang. All right, he's the founder of KML Consultants, which offers one-on-one LinkedIn training and networking best practices for all of his clients, whether they're old, whether they're young, whether they're new, whether they're not new to the workforce, whatever it happens to be. He facilitates an online weekly lunch and learn with lots of guest speakers on Tuesday afternoons. Our attendees can discuss LinkedIn best practices and all kinds of things for job search. He's also a volunteer career coach for Rutgers New Start Career Network, which provides older New Jersey workers, long-term unemployed New Jersey job seekers with access to free, personalized career services. All right, and because Ken has all kinds of time in the world, he's also a mentor for William Patterson University. And that's something to take in mind. So again, he's working with older people, younger people, everyone in between. So he knows how to get the best out of LinkedIn. Again, I'm going to ask you to put any questions that you have in the chat box. I will relay those to Ken as we go through our presentation, and I will admit people that are late. The meeting is being recorded. The link for the recording will be sent to you when it is available. Could be today, could be tomorrow. I have no idea. Whenever Zoom gets around to it. So it will be sent to you, the URL, as well as the slides. So you will get everything sent to you. All right. And any questions at the very end, Ken will give you his contact information. They're also on his last slide, so that will be presented to you as well. All right, Ken, take it away.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Christine, for having me back here. And a little bit of a networking story. Christine and I both met on LinkedIn, actually. And as I recall, we were commenting on the same post. So this is really how networking starts. And when I go through the presentation, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. Some of it is going to be things that I will share when I share my screen, but I wanted to try to hit on all the main points. So without further ado, and this is what's so great about technology, I can share my screen and we are off and running. So what I'm doing today is a little different than normal. It's not just using LinkedIn, but it's using it as part of what I call a networking toolkit. Over the years, we've had different strategies for what we need to do to find a job and even to network. And I'm putting together some best practices, and I have actually gone through these myself, so I can definitely vouch for them. So in addition to all the great things Christine said about me, I've been on LinkedIn through podcasts, which is something that is absolutely scary to me because I am an introvert by nature. For me to be in front of a camera even now can be a little bit challenging. But the funny thing about it is it's no different than me talking to each of you separately. And you feel very, very comfortable in that. It's a good way also when you think about interviewing, to actually interview with someone else on a Zoom call. I mean, I do that all the time. It's a good best practice. And with what's going on now, you have the opportunity to do things you never would have been able to do before. Trying to make lemonade out of lemons. So I'm going to propose LinkedIn be used two different ways. Job search for sure, but networking is really just as important. So you need to have the right tools in the toolkit. It's no different than if you have to do something around the house or somewhere else. If you don't have the right tools, you're not going to be able to fix what needs to be done. So this is what I suggest a networking tool could be. Each of you can decide as you do it how much of each you want to do, but you want to have LinkedIn, other social media as part of that toolkit. How you use them may be different from person to person. You want to create a job search team. That's not the same thing as attending a networking event. I'll go into a little more detail in the next couple of slides. You do want to attend networking events as part of it. The challenge there is not to get
Yvonne Trello. Join the meeting.
You don't want to get overwhelmed. I think there's a thing now, they talk about COVID fatigue, there's Zoom fatigue right now. And it's one of those things where you want to balance everything. You want to give yourself some time to decompress. And believe it or not, more and more people now are reverting back to just having phone calls. Researching companies in your industry, that's part of job search in a different way. Same with following up on leads. So a job search team, there is no one specific number of people. It really would, like anything else in networking, it depends. Get used to saying those two words because it depends counts for a lot of things. But these are the basic things to think about the job search team. Everyone should be focused. Now, by focused, I mean everyone should be wanting to look for a job or networking. If you don't have someone on your team, they're just kind of like chilling, just want to talk to you guys. They can be a friend of yours, but they're not going to be empowered to be on a job search team. Each of your members should have different strengths. There may be a phone person there. There may be a person who's much better at writing stuff down. You can have complementary strengths, but you want to have different types of people. Ideally, at least one member should be in the same industry as you, because there are going to be times that things will come up that you might not be aware of, or that there may have to be some industry ease to speak about. The most important parts, though, is you want to offer honest feedback to each other. This is not going to be a family member saying it's going to be okay. Maybe it will be okay, but if you totally bomb out on something, you want to have people that will be honest. You want to have people that are going to be complimentary when it is meant to be, but you want to be in a situation where people are not afraid to say, well, you didn't do this right or didn't do that right. It's really just about how you portray that and say it. And I think the best part also is it's a divide and conquer mindset. So you don't all have to go to the same events. You can take turns. And then as you go to different things, you can definitely follow up. I suggest in a general way, you get together on a regular basis. It's a little bit different now, but if you have a chat like 9 in the morning on a Zoom call or by phone, that's great. And the thing about a call like that is you talk about what you're doing, but more importantly, what you're going to do. So as I alluded to before, you meet regularly, you be accountable, you share events, but above all, you support each other through successes and failures. You're going to be at sometimes people are going to be really excited they have an interview, really excited. Then they find out they didn't get the job. And so it's a whole up and down thing. So you want to be supportive. You want to give advice as much as possible. But at the same time, each person on the team has a different mindset and different emotions and things going on. So you want to be respectful of some boundaries, but you want to be able to be open and honest about others. So we all talk about networking events. Well, here are some places to find them, and they're not all for the same reason. Meetup.com, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, has all different types of networking events that you can search for. Alex Freund has a place called thelandingexpert.com. Again, it lists networking events pretty much job search based. Lunchclub.ai is a really cool thing. It's an opportunity for you to create a profile, what you're looking to do in general, and Lunch Club will match you up with people based on your profile. You have no idea who you're going to be meeting with specifically. It could be someone in New York, it could be someone in Los Angeles, it could be someone in Europe, but it's an opportunity, if nothing else, for you to just talk, just practice having conversations. It's not about a job. I mean, not all of networking events are about I need a job or I need advice that way. The one that I happen to find my most favorite is something called Quad Meets. As an introvert, especially, you join up, you get put into a meeting with 3 other people. You have no idea anything about them, and you just talk. It's not driven by an agenda. There's a few things you have to talk about: who you are, where you're from, and why are you here. And then it takes on a life of its own. You know, we've had people. I've been in a quad meet with someone who is in one of my networking events, and we were just like, oh. And then I'm with people that are way in another direction. But the idea is you use the lunch club and quad meets to just practice meeting people. The 1000hires.com is a great opportunity for you to get job search advice and also to mentor other people. It's a website. You go there, you can sign up either as a job seeker or as a mentor. And even if you're out of work, and this is the thing that I probably want to stress as much as anything else, your skills are your skills. You don't lose your skills when you go from one place to the other. So you definitely want to look into these things. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if nothing else, going to these events will make you feel better in some ways. It'll take your mind off the things that all of us have kind of what that you should be doing. When you start using LinkedIn, everyone else also tells you to connect with like-minded people, but also connect with people that you want to connect with and aren't like you. You know, it's thinking outside the box. If you want to work for a company and there's someone at the company that you want to connect with them. The rules have changed a little bit now in terms of relationships because it's not the same mindset with COVID-19 and being in job search. There's so many people that are just looking for outreach. Commenting on others' posts, I'm going to go into that in a little more detail later on. The same with scheduling follow-ups. But the biggest thing of all is asking for advice and help. When you send a connection request, don't just say, I'd appreciate talking to you about a job. I mean, there's different kind of nuances to that. Asking for advice and help can be done in different ways, some subtly more than others, and I'll go into some details later on. So this is like LinkedIn 101, components of a complete profile. And the reason that a complete profile is so important is that it affects where you may turn up in the searching. It doesn't necessarily in and of itself get you to be found unless it's complete. You want to have a professional picture, not a personal one on Facebook. There are a lot of photographers out right now who are looking for jobs and use the opportunity to take advantage of that. There was a thing last year in Microsoft stores, I think, where they were taking free profile pictures. I don't know if they're doing that again. Worth considering. Now, the headline and job title, use this to market yourself. It is not about what you've done, it's about what you want to do. And I'll go through the different steps in a little while about that. And the same with the about section. You fill it with keywords. I'll show you what that means in a bit. Job history, experience with a current job. This is a new change here. Skills, now you have to have at least 5 skills. Again, it's in large part because there are so many fake profiles out there that LinkedIn is really trying to maximize that the people using it use it the right way. So this is a slide where you would find each of these parts. The picture is at the top. The heading is underneath here. The summary is here. And look at this. Something to keep in mind, the about section, as many words as you have, the first 3 lines are all that someone's going to see unless they select see more. So you want to make those very compelling. And when you have this pencil here, that enables you to edit any part of it. So if you don't have a current job, what do you do? The job can be what your background is in, which is a personal favorite of mine. It's how you want to be found. You can mention in the description area that you're in transition with the other skills, but this is about being found. You can call yourself a consultant with the same type of info. If you're volunteering somewhere, it can be your current job. I'm not a big fan of the job title being open to new opportunities. My preference is the first 2. Volunteering can be there too as part of it. In fact, you can include your volunteering experience underneath one of the first 2 bullet points. With everything else, again, it depends. This is just some suggestions.
And I just want to interrupt you for 1 second.
Sure.
We have Monmouth County Workforce Development. There are 3 webinars on LinkedIn and the proper use of LinkedIn. And they were recorded in the spring of 2020. With that said, a lot of the stats and changes were not included because they hadn't happened yet. So I've just revamped those slides and plan to record them hopefully before Thanksgiving with the current information. And things that Ken is talking about today, some of that is included with your updates. So you want to check those out, especially if you want some more detail and, you know, how does this whole experience thing work, whatnot. So he only has 2 hours and I've broken them down. So a little bit longer. Any questions, you know, feel free to reach out to me or Ken.
Thanks a lot for that. So again, this is again where you would edit from. The important thing is you save the changes. One of the biggest mistakes, and this is a thing with LinkedIn, if you don't change your headline, it'll automatically become your current position. So that's why you want to edit it there. Again, a lot of the things on LinkedIn, it's not very intuitive unless you know it from listening to myself and Christine and through videos. The About section is actually going to be 2 slides because there's 2 different components to it. You want to put in as many keywords as possible, which I'll show you on the second slide, but use the first part to market yourself. If you think about an elevator pitch, think about an elevator pitch on steroids. This is just kind of my pitch from a business standpoint as to what I do. But right off the bat, these are the first 3 lines. There isn't a one-size-fits-all strategy. I train, coach, and mentor clients. When I get into here, there's a little more about me. Now you can go up to 2,600 characters. I don't necessarily recommend you do. I think this part here is probably the best part. These are all keywords. Specialties can be related to the type of position you want, whatever it is. Technical specialties can be related to the software you've used. So it's not going to be read by a lot of people. They'll read the first couple lines or so, but these are all searchable terms. The reason you do it is that when someone does a search, and I'm going to show you in a little while how recruiters do searching, you want to make sure you show up in those searches that they have. One of the newer things is when you create a job, and I had alluded to this before, you can list different employment types. You can call yourself a freelancer. You can call yourself self-employed. And that's why there's really no reason not to have a current job. The title, and it's totally understandable. Again, a lot of the changes that were made given COVID-19 and the number of people out of work. So it's not unusual. And a lot of people who are out of work do things very similar to this. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's about your perception and how you're trying to market yourself on the platform. So one of the questions I get asked is why premium? So this is an example of what premium has that basic doesn't have. I would get from a job I apply for or look at, it would say what percentage I am based on my profile, and it would list the top 10 skills that a specific job needs. Now, you can get a lot of this from the keywords, and I am not suggesting you pay for a premium. You can get it free for a month as long as you're a member to cancel after a month. But it's just an example because everyone asks me what's the point of premium. That's one point. In the very beginning, I probably would recommend not using it for now because there'll be so many other things to think about. And again, this is an example of the different components of a profile. Experience.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second, Ken?
Absolutely. Yep.
Ken is somebody who is very experienced on LinkedIn. He has a lot of connections, and there is definitely a reason for premium. If you can't afford premium, we don't at Monmouth County Workforce Development endorse or say go ahead with paying for anything. So having a free account right now to get you started, to get your connections, to get used to networking, that is totally okay. If you choose down the road to invest in yourself and invest in your career and get premium, then that's okay too. But either way works. Ken has a premium account. I have a free account. Both of them work just fine depending on how much you use it. If you're not using LinkedIn to its fullest potential right now, I don't recommend that you pay because you're not going to get anything out of it. Do everything that Ken is recommending first, do it for free, and then analyze it. If you're not getting your monies back, then you want to maybe try something new. And that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, just about everything in this presentation is free. I decided finally to put in some things as to what the difference is, because that's a question I get asked all the time.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. So I love David Bowie. So this is a little bit of a side story. I'm going to show the changes on LinkedIn, but the reason I love David Bowie, besides the fact that he's a favorite artist of mine, is that the first time I became a non-introvert, I actually went up and did karaoke, and I sang this song. I have no idea why. It was horrible, but I felt good about it. So doing something like that outside of your comfort zone, whatever it is always a good idea, because you'll feel just that much better, and it's about taking chances. So these are some of the great new changes on LinkedIn. You can add a video to a post. Better than that is you now have up to 5 options, which I'm going to go through. And one of these actually came out 3 weeks ago, which is even cooler that I was able to get it in. You can celebrate an occasion, which is basically letting people know it's your birthday or your first year at a job. The others I'm going to show you in more detail in the next slides: creating a poll, offering to help, finding an expert, and adding a profile. Creating a poll, you have this. If you select that, you will have the ability to create a poll, have up to 4 choices, and the duration can be up to 2 weeks. I just suggest 1 week. The only downside is once it's saved, you can't change the spelling. But a poll can be anything you want. As a first post, it's a great thing to do. It can be what is the most important part of job search, and you can have 4 bullet points. Or mine was, how much time do you spend using LinkedIn each week? And when you finish that poll, whatever that poll is, that can become a post. I just did this post. I did this poll on LinkedIn, which is what the question was. These are the results. What do you think about it? Do you agree or disagree? It's extremely easy to do, and it's a good place to start. Again, a lot of the polls up there don't have to be related to job search. It can be other things. LinkedIn is becoming a little more Facebooky in some ways. I'm not happy about it in other ways. Things like this definitely make it more relevant. This is a new one here, finding an expert. You can find an expert based on different categories. It can be accounting, coaching, mentoring, design, etc. You can select a location, and then you can add some text here why you're looking to get an expert, and then that information will get sent out to different people who have that background. And then from there, you can have a conversation. None of this is going to cost you anything. It's another thing to think about. So if you have a quick question and none of us are around, there'll be a lot of people that can definitely help. Offering help, this is something which, as someone in transition, I absolutely recommend you do. Offer to help, whether it's resume reviews, coaching, just talking. If you put yourself out there, it's a great networking opportunity. I have all these checked, and that's one of the reasons I get contacted. And it's just about, if nothing else, it's brainstorming, talking about what other people are doing. This is my personal favorite. I'll try to demonstrate it later on. You can find a job or a post or mention someone. So I selected Lynn Williams, and I'll show you how to do this later. And you can put whatever words in. Lynn would be a great addition to any team. Please let me know if you'd like to be put in touch. You can put this down about anyone or everyone, and you can mention why you're recommending them. You can talk about their skills. It's a post. And anyone in the network that has this tag share profile, or you can put other tags on, will find out about it. So I just tried this a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and it's amazing what happens as a result. Now, all of these things here are things to think about. Again, I don't recommend everyone do everything at the same time, but think about them as part of what you want to do.
Why would you not want to do everything at the same time, Ken?
Well, I think the only reason is sometimes it gets overwhelming. I do different things on LinkedIn each day. I would try out different things to see what works and what doesn't work. What you don't want to do is spend hours and hours a day on LinkedIn. Everyone has different strategies. My strategy is, or my advice is, try to do it 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, for a few minutes, and figure out what you want to do when. And you'll get into a cadence because other things are going to come up along the way. So that's kind of my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, Christine.
I agree. I just wanted someone else to echo exactly what I'm saying. I'm telling you, you and I are twins when it comes to LinkedIn.
We're linked twins. Hashtag.
Oh, by the way, I am an introvert like Ken. So if anything, COVID-19 has gotten us to that point of making it equal footing, whether you're an extrovert or introvert, because of Zoom or WebEx or whatever it happens to be, and making connections and talking to people. And you can really make connections all over the world where you didn't have that opportunity back in the day before COVID to go to a networking meeting in Australia. Now you can. So it gives you a whole host of opportunities you didn't have before. You should definitely take advantage of that.
Absolutely. No, so these are some changes from a navigation standpoint on Manage My Network. I'm going to show you in a little while about events and how you can create an event. And also there's a thing called newsletters, which I highly recommend. If you scroll down under My Network, you'll find suggested newsletters based on your background, and they're all free. And you can subscribe to as many or as few as you want. Again, be careful. The more newsletters you subscribe to, the more stuff is coming into your inbox. So I probably would suggest trying a couple. But again, you can decide not to keep reading them. You know, if you think about it, it's additional content that some people have put out there. It's people, even if you wanted to, if nothing else, connect with the person writing the newsletter. Said, and as a perfect opportunity, I just read your newsletter, it was really great. I'd like to connect with you. And I'm going to show you in a little while some suggested ways to connect and not to connect. This is my personal favorite too, which I talked to Christine about before. You can now, and this is what I would like to show in real time, you can now select interview questions, and there are videos about best practices and answers.
This was never available when we were teaching live LinkedIn workshops. And I guess COVID forced LinkedIn to do this. This is awesome. You got to take a look at it.
It used to be offered for premium. They switched it to basic, actually. So once they did that, and they keep adding questions. And even if it's not a specific answer that you're looking for your industry, it'll give you some great advice. So this is a personal great LinkedIn hack of mine. And Abby Kohut, a recruiter, once showed me this. If you type the keywords, we're hiring, or I'm hiring, or hiring, and then you select people, and you can go into different locations, anyone who has that in the title will come up. Doesn't necessarily mean they're in your specific industry, but again, they're hiring. So you can start the connection request with, I'd love to connect because I noticed that you're hiring. Can we have a conversation? The mindset you have to get past is, so what if no one gets back to you? No is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. You want to get to as close to the next yes as possible. And as you try different things, you'll have success in some and failure, or could have done better in others.
Networking is all about who knows who knows who knows who. So even if you do get a no, their spouse or their cousin or sibling or aunt has another sibling which has a cousin that has a job. And it might take you a lot of different places, such as the relationship between me and Ken. This person can help, this person can help, and you don't know, but you have to reach out and take action on what Ken is saying.
And even if this person you're looking to hire does not have anything in your industry, ask that person, do you know a recruiter in this industry? Or can you offer me some advice? Because what they want to do is they want to build a reputation as well that you could recommend them. You just don't know unless you ask. So when you do searching on jobs for LinkedIn, there are some jobs that say actively recruiting. It's a badge that was put on pretty much. LinkedIn measures how many people not only apply to a job, but how many times recruiters reach out. It's a mechanism that they have. A lot of the jobs that are on LinkedIn are wait and see type jobs that they're looking to fill eventually. And it's a good way for you to find them. It's not to say the other jobs don't necessarily exist, but it's a good way to track them from time to time. This is also another great thing which recently changed. You have additional search criteria now. You can now search for events. So if you have let's say you're looking for accounting or you're looking for human resources, you can select events and the events that match those will show up, which is another reason. And again, you attend an event, it may work out, it may not work out. Again, it's another thing to think about from a networking standpoint. So if you want to create an event, which I absolutely suggest everyone give a shot to, you can create an event. If you go to the plus on your homepage, you'll see that there, and I'll show you how later on. You then create the different bullet points, the different fields, the name, the organizer, etc. And this is how it'll look when it's all done. This is actually from last week. I actually did a screen capture. This is a logo, and I invited people, and you can invite anyone you want. So if you want to create your own event, invite anyone you want to it. It doesn't have to be anything more than just a Zoom call or something. And it's good practice if nothing else. A lot of this is good practice for if you have to do things, especially in the technology that we're challenged with now. Things are much different than they used to be. And the more you're familiar with even how to do something, even if you don't use it, the better it would be for you. This is another new thing. I go back and forth about whether it's a good idea or not. You have the ability now when you do a message to actually schedule a meeting, whether it's through Zoom, Teams, or Blue Jeans. So you know how it's like you can, if I'm going to reach out to someone, you have to first have an account with one of those, but this is how it would work. Create the meeting, you put the dates in there, and then you send it, and then I send this to Marty Latman, testing new functionality on LinkedIn to create a message by messaging you. But you can change that text as, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Is this a good time? What LinkedIn doesn't do yet, which I wish they would, is they don't match up your calendars to the meeting itself. So it's a starting point. So unless you know their calendar off the bat, you're scheduling a meeting without knowing if they're available. Again, I almost consider it a toy right now, honestly, because like a lot of things, they're trying it out, and if it doesn't work out, they'll take it away. So it's just something to be aware of.
Can you do both a video meeting from desktop as well as your phone? I know there are some functionalities that are on one but not the other. How does that work?
You can do both because as long as you have the account.
Okay. So either way.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually, it doesn't even have to be a phone. The way you do it from there is a video meeting, but you can set up, not with that tab, but you can set up a phone as well. I mean, you wouldn't have to go through the steps to create a phone meeting that way.
Gotcha.
I like this a lot for group messaging. We talk about in-mails all the time and how costly they are. One reason you connect with a bunch of people is so you can avoid in-mails. So I connected with Beth, and the reason it turns out that we connected is that she wanted to introduce Dave DeLuca to me. So once we were connected, she did in connection, a 3-way group message. Dave meet Ken, Ken meet Dave. I thought you two should get to know each other. And we had a conversation, and he wanted to ask me some questions. And it's a little thing like that. That's one of the main reasons you might connect with someone, because you avoid having to pay for in-mails. And if you have a basic, you have limits to that. A lot of people let you send in-mails for free if their settings are set up that way. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a larger network. Just realize that not everyone in your network is going to be serving the same purpose. Another reason to do premium messages, other bells and whistles. Under the three dots at the top, you can now set an away message. You can say that you're out of the office from this date to that date. So if someone tries to send you a message on LinkedIn and you have that message, you'll get a reply back. Do I think it's worth going premium for that? No. But again, I'm figuring, let me show you one of the reasons or one of the things that actually is different. These are some other feed changes that come up. You might get notified that your resume was downloaded for a specific position. I like this a lot here. Some recruiters have this enabled. They have an urgent need for a job, and you can reply back with a comment or that you know someone in that way. A lot of recruiters use this because they don't want to pay for a recruiter seat or a whole recruiter package. All of these things will come up from time to time. And again, I don't recommend you do everything all the time, but be aware of these things when they come up. This alludes to the increased headlines. One thing, and one reason I put this out there is the way it looks on desktop may not look the same on mobile. Mobile is a much smaller screen, so you want to keep trying things around. I would suggest 170 characters over 3 lines, because if you think of a mobile screen, if you take up a lot of that with your title, it just affects what else is viewable. And again, mobile now probably has less of an impact than it did before because we're all at home, but you want to make sure just in case that you have a good mobile platform. So some bad requests. I figured rather than just say a bad request, I'd rather show some. First one is hi with a blanket message. No mention of my name because it was sent out to lots and lots of people. Get those a lot. Impressed with my background. I don't see how, because you don't know what my background is. Didn't look. So you get those a lot. Then it's the, hey, Kenneth, you round? I've gotten that too. And that was the end of it. So no, I'm not around. This is another one here, which is a boilerplate. Hi, fills in my name. My name is their name. I noticed you're it's a cut and paste of the job title at the company, cut and paste. And then it's the pitch. Does anyone have an idea why they're so bad? Christine?
They're not customized. They're not speaking to somebody's profile, and
Right.
You would think that everyone's profile and experience and background is different. And if it's a blanket statement, it's as bad as I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. You're not customizing it. So if you're not taking time, then you really don't care about connecting with me. Maybe you want to just expand your network and be able to use me or my profile to get other connections.
So these are some good ones. This is a person who met me yesterday at a networking event. Ken, I attended your presentation this morning. Great content. I hope to be a connection with you. And he put his email address in there too. Hello, Ken. I have heard great things about you from my friend. I wanted to connect and see if I could find out about your meetings. That's a one-way. This is the type of thing I might send to someone else out. Jane, I loved your comment on Scott Boudreau's post about interviewing. Let's connect on LinkedIn. And you can take that and you can rewrite that in many different ways. You can just say, instead of let's connect on LinkedIn, or in addition to that, say, would you be open for a 5-10 minute conversation? Or something along those lines. It may take a little more work, but it's absolutely worth it, because very few people actually, I would almost rather sometimes get a boilerplate with no connection text on there. I'd rather get a blank one than the ones I get. But look at some of these as just best practices. You're going to get more engagement that way. It also shows the person that you're looking at their profile. Mike actually put his phone number on there. Again, it's a comfort level. You can put an email address, put whatever you want. But it's just that little touch. Even when I reply and I want to connect with people, I don't do a cut and paste. I think about what I'm going to say. And I would almost make this as this is a good thing to do. I do this a lot on the weekends, first thing in the morning, when I'm going through connection requests and I get them and send them out, because I get into a rhythm that way. You don't want to get too distracted. This next thing here, I'm going to really have to ask Christine about too, her thoughts. There is a thing called Open to Work out there. It can be only available to recruiters who have the recruiters package. So let me ask you, Christine, do you recommend anyone put Open to Work on their frame?
Personally, I do not.
Okay.
That is, there is a lot of debate on both sides, and we always promote in the headline to never put in transition, looking for work, looking for next opportunity, blah, 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 because it makes you sound desperate. And having the green Open to Work on your profile picture makes you look desperate, desperate to take anything. And that's why I do not recommend it. With that said, I put it on my profile to test it out, and I got connection requests from people congratulating me on my next job. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't get any, they never read, they didn't look, they didn't, see my profile. And so it was not, there was no reason.
Okay.
That is my experience. That's how I feel.
If you do it to recruiters, you want to make sure that you have all the job titles that you want there and the locations. Again, I'm not a big proponent of it, and recent statistics basically show it hasn't really helped that much, honestly. But now this is something new. They're going to be putting out hiring things. This is being rolled out to recruiters who post jobs, and Ed actually has it on there, and I think a few other people do. Again, whether it works or not, I don't know. It's just another thing to be aware of, but it means that the person at that company actually has jobs, and they have to change that on their profile to reflect that. This is another thing which I absolutely recommend everyone do. You look at your dashboard, which is right underneath your About section, and there's 3 components to it. The most important component is this thing called search appearances. That tells you on a weekly basis if you're finding the right people and if you're being searched. So if you select that, the first part will be by profession, what your searchers do. The next part would be by company. The part that I like best is search appearances, keywords your searchers used. If your keywords aren't there, or if the wrong keywords are there, that's a good reminder that something has to change. And this changes every week from Wednesday to Tuesday. So it's a good thing to think about. Some people found out they're being listed for under sales and like, I don't sell anything. Well, again, it's how you're being searched by. So I don't know, Christine, do you share this much with your groups?
I do.
Okay, good. Now on to posting content. This is just a general reminder. You can put a cut and paste of URL, which is kind of lazy, or you can start a basic post. Don't overthink it. As an example, this is something Nancy Aronson did a while ago. I so love it because it was starting in the middle of the pandemic. Do you feel awkward when you're leaving an online meeting? This article shows the best way to wave one hand while hanging up. And it was she just basically asked, what do you think? Are there other good ways? Something like that. Now, things are a little different now with the pandemic, different types of questions, with the holidays especially. So it's okay to post things that are not specific to your industry. It's all about figuring out what makes sense for your voice. We all have different voices or different ways about doing things. And you can share content with an @ and an asterisk. There are some changes now which just came up in the last week or so. It used to be that the first hour you posted was the golden hour. That was when you had to get your engagement. It has changed. Most of the posts now that don't see full engagement for up to 3 to 5 days. And that's because something called dwell time has changed. And dwell time is LinkedIn's measure for how long a person stays on a post, not just likes it, but reads it and comments it. So that's why you want to think about some of your posts being relevant up to a week. Even the idea of tagging. If you tag too many people in a post now, LinkedIn will flag it as possible spam unless the people tagging respond. And that's due to the fact that a lot of the people that are sharing content belong to something called the pod, which is a group of 20 to 30 to 40 people who will basically agree to share each other's content by tagging each other in the post. Again, a lot of this is just LinkedIn's way of trying to fight back. It's kind of like a whack-a-mole at times. It's not always successful. I left this in again as something to consider. The featured section goes underneath your about. The reason you would do a feature here is would put information there. Some people actually put the resume there. But if you select plus, you then have the ability you can add a post and it will, select feature will do that. You can add, if you have videos you've done or a website, the way it'll look is under about, you'll have featured. And when someone looks at your profile, again, they'll see the featured content. It's not searchable. It's not about finding a job, but it's about marketing yourself. And you can put as few or as many as you want. You don't have to use it. It's not considered to be necessary for a complete profile. But again, it's something to think about. Skills and recommendations. What you want to think about now is putting the top 3 on your viewable part, because someone will have to select show more. You can move them around, and I'll show you how if I have time later on. But all of your skills should be there for any type of job. And I always push this and say, if you do Microsoft, you got to put down Word, you want to put down PowerPoint, you want to put down Excel, Outlook, because these are things that you're being searched by. Don't assume that people know that you do that. So all of these things are important. First of all, if you don't have a picture, it sends up a red flag. Your title should be what you want to do, not necessarily what you've done. And LinkedIn is keyword driven. This is going to be the part about recruiters, and this is why this is so important. This is a recruiter. This is what the recruiters actually look at from their side. So when they do searches, Boolean searches, which is basically a combination of terms. Like it'll say IT recruiter or tech recruiter or technology recruiter. So it could be project manager or business analyst or business systems analyst, whatever it is. And they do all these, and then whoever shows up the most times is on the page. It doesn't mean they're the most qualified. It doesn't mean they're the best, but that's how they have to start. And this is how you would actually show up. Your profile would look like that. And it would have over here your position and your college. It doesn't have anything there listed about your background, but if they call up your profile, they'll see it. So that's why from a recruiter standpoint, they got to see the picture. They got to see the location, which brings up a reminder. This is an alternate view. Your location should not be where you live specifically. It should be metropolitan area driven. If you're in a small town, and I worked with someone on this, he's in a small town of Vermont, and he put that down. I said, well, why don't you put down greater Boston area? You want to expand your network and expand how people actually search for you. In case you have mobile and you want to do a connection request, just about everyone I know selects connect because they don't see the opportunity to do otherwise. So if you select view full profile on mobile, you see more, then you have the ability to personalize the connection request. I wish LinkedIn would tell me when a connection request came in, how it came in, if it came from mobile or desktop, because that would really help me out a lot. And we have all kind of made these sort of suggestions. I'm sure it's possible to be done, but again, you can only do what LinkedIn allows you to do. I always say LinkedIn it's their bat and ball, and we're just the teammates there. LinkedIn is not a substitute for networking in person or otherwise. You can do the job search and branding, which is networking, and thinking about dwell time. I always suggest also, if you're on a post and you see other people on the post, connect with them. You have that relationship, which is one of the things I did. And you also have, there's a reason why you both commented. Visibility for updates, again, there's been all different studies about when the best time is to post. And the only answer I can give you is to post as in some sort of a routine. I do it every day because that's what I do. But if you post a couple of times a week and that's what you do, great. Plan the updates in advance as much as possible. If someone likes your post too, I would connect with them. And writing original posts, again, it does not have to be industry specific, especially now that the rules of engagement have definitely changed.
And I just want to point out too that your last comment on anyone's post, or if you post something yourself, the last thing that you did is going to show up under activity. So if you sent out a post and tagged a bunch of people and then went back and commented on 4 other posts, you probably aren't going to see on that first page your post unless you put it under featured. If you're looking under activity, it's going to be buried because only the last comment is going to show. So you might want to comment on other people's posts and then create your own post so that it is the top of the list for activity, just so you know.
Sure. And this I did from an introvert's presentation I did. What are you waiting for? Come on, dive in the water, it's fine. Because again, that most people are just afraid to start doing this. There's a mindset that what happens if I make a mistake? What happens if someone doesn't like what I do? You know what? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you need help with LinkedIn, to this day, it's still very frustrating. You would tweet LinkedIn at LinkedIn Help. In a lot of cases, there are common problems there that are being sought out. I do 15-minute consultations. I'm happy to talk to anyone here anytime. We do a lunch and learn every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We're doing one at 3 o'clock today with Virginia Franco. I don't know if there's any seats available for it, but Virginia's already told me that anyone can reach out to her. So with that, this is also a link to the first YouTube video I did, Introverts, LinkedIn and Introverts. Gotta watch it. What you won't see is how worried Brenda and I were before the screen went on. We were both very worried. And then we just started talking. Got to realize that what you see on the screen is not what's going on. Stuff is leading up to it. All of us are introverted in their own way. And introvert doesn't mean you're an introvert around family. It means you're just kind of afraid to make the first move. You're afraid of being rejected, or you're just thinking about making the first move and you don't do it. So thank you very much, guys. And I don't know, what time is it right now, Christine?
It's 5 to 11. So you have
Okay.
some time for, do we have any questions?
Let's take the questions first, and after that, if it's okay with you, I'll just go to the to my profile, but I'll take questions first.
Anyone?
Okay, going once, going twice. I can ask you a question, Christine.
I don't know if you want to speak up for it.
No, I mean, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
What do you find are some of the biggest challenges that people have getting started on LinkedIn?
They're not sure where to begin. They find it extremely overwhelming because there's so many sections and parts to LinkedIn, and they feel as though it's one and done, and it's going to take up too much of their time to maintain. That's the feedback that I get. And you should be spending more time on LinkedIn than any other platform that you're currently spending your time on. I like the statistics from Ed, who said there's 175 million people on Indeed. You are one resume in 175 million people. There are 750 million people worldwide on LinkedIn, but not in the US. So if you're only looking in New Jersey or you're looking in the US to relocate, or you're looking on a global basis from working from home, you're going to have different results. And you should be spending time networking and making friends and connections, as opposed to putting your resume on Indeed or Monster Career Builder and trying to find a job that way. We know that only 2% of people land a job from applying online. Two. Whereas LinkedIn, 85% of people land a job from LinkedIn. So where would you rather be? That's what I give in response.
And I also think it's all about building relationships which will lead to a job too. I mean, it's all about a strategy. Now, I actually just shared my profile, which if no one has any other questions, I'm happy to move forward with, because a lot of this is great. And this is an example of how jobs actually works here. Now, if you select jobs, you will see all these different tabs here. Resume builder, LinkedIn will build a resume for you. Better than nothing. I'm not a big fan of it. If you select interview prep, like I alluded to before, you have all these questions here. Tell me about yourself. What's your greatest strength, your weakness? Why should we hire you? Why do you want to work here? All these things. Describe your most challenging product. I like this one here. Can you explain your employment gap, honestly? Because come to something like this, and then what you'll see is sample answers. So if you call up something, first of all, so here, you call up something like that, and you'll see a video.
Let's see how someone might address this question, and then I'll share some feedback.
Yes, so in 2014, I was working in Seattle as a global finance manager. I loved my job and got to travel all over the world. My dad, who lives in Michigan, was diagnosed with dementia that same year, and my mom was having a hard time giving him the level of care he needed. I decided to put my career on pause and go help them. I not only got to spend quality time with my parents and sister, I was able to get their finances in order so that when it was time for him to enter a care home, they were in great spot to afford it. He's doing really well at the facility, so now I can refocus on my career.
Great job. You covered all the key points here. First, it's honest. You left work to care for a family member. Your delivery is strong, it's confident, and you're unapologetic about the gap. And finally, you showcase the positive by explaining your action plan to keep your finance skills sharp. Great job.
What does everyone think about something like that? What do you think, Christine? Is that a good relevant thing to relevant answer or relevant comment?
I think it's relevant because you're owning the gap. And a lot of people are ashamed, or they don't want to address it, or they want to sweep it under the rug. And with Jenny, she's telling you just own that gap. And what did you do? You weren't sitting on the couch eating bonbons that whole time. Right. And you might have been in job search, but what were you doing? Were you attending networking meetings? Were you going on LinkedIn and making your connections? Were you taking a class to update your skills and improve upon them? All these things were going on, and even recruiters and hiring managers have family and they have sick loved ones or sick themselves. And when you are honest and address those things and own the gap and the reasons why, you are more identifiable.
I'm going to do another one now. And this is something here which is just written. It says, after experiencing a layoff, I created a list of things I wanted to accomplish. So again, if you look at something like this, the time was well spent, I harnessed my creative side. And again, it tells you why it worked well. The candidate demonstrated a self-starter mindset. This time was used to reflect and accomplish goals. This is such an amazing area because a lot of the questions here are common questions that will come up. And it can be broken down, like if you go to categories here, there's even more underneath. These are common questions. If you go down to here, there's finance, there's sales, all different things. These are just the basic ones.
Everyone that is on this call right now, there are not that many of you. And you need to kind of pat yourself on the back. And I've said this before in our other presentation with our other guest speaker. There are 97,000+ people that are unemployed in Monmouth County. You are one of those 97,000 people. You are light years ahead because you know all the ins and outs, the changes in LinkedIn and how to get through and how to read the interview questions and the answers and kind of formulate in your mind how to answer those questions when they come up, not if they come up, but when they come up. So you are more educated in that respect. You need to pat yourself on the back for that because some people that are not on this call are not getting that information and you are.
So do I have time to show a couple more of these or?
Absolutely.
Again, it's great because these are the general questions. Why should we hire you? This is a wording. My resume demonstrates that I've been successful with the key responsibilities, and it lists some of the takeaways here. And it's all about how a person would, I believe I'd be a great fit as I already have relevant experience and have been successful in my previous roles. This may be a little bit boilerplate, but it will again give you an idea. If I go back and go to a video one of this, again, it's good sometimes just to listen. Simple answer. Why should we hire you?
I look forward to hearing how this candidate answers this question. I'll be back shortly to share some observations. I've got both the experience and target audience rapport that you're looking for. I've built 2 corporate training programs from scratch and developed the kind of interactive video programs that you're looking to create. When employees fill out feedback forms, they speak highly of my professionalism and clarity that they've encountered. Lastly, a close friend of mine who works on the marketing team here says that this company is a great cultural fit given my background and values. I have an insatiable level of curiosity and tend to do lots of research on any topic that I'm less than an expert in. And I know your values include constant learning. That really resonates with my passion around going deep. I'm just eager to become part of a fast-growing, mission-oriented organization like yours. I think our candidate hit all the right notes when he was talking about his core strengths. Also using feedback from some of his colleagues in the past on what he had done well or their positive observations was really helpful. Kept it very engaging and personable, which is important. But he also talked about why he was a cultural fit for the organization as well. Well done on this response.
What do you think about that, Christine?
I agree. I don't know the prior, usually that question is at the end. So I don't know what happened or what was asked during the entire interview, but you want to, in addition to what he said, pull out some of the things that were discussed and how you are a match to that corporate culture and end it on a positive note, just like he did.
I think the important thing is all these questions may be asked at different times and for different people, but knowing some of the responses and practicing them with a job search buddy too would be really, really helpful. So what I was going to show you next is when you actually go to the network, one of how you can do some of the things you're doing. So if I want to post something here and I go to my home page, start a post. And so if I do start a post here, these are when these options come up. So add a profile was the one that I really thought was really great. So if I select, again, I have an option from here. I can do it to anyone. I can do it to connections only. I can do it to group members. Again, I'm just going to suggest you do it to anyone. So what you do then is you select add a profile. Search for a connection. So and it has to be a first connection again. So if I do @, there's Christine. So I'm going to call Christine up. And the default is Christine would be a great addition to any team. So I'm going to say, thanks so so much, Christine, for the opportunity group. I'd highly recommend Christine for XXX. And then, again, this is just a very, and then if you select post, and I can put an additional share profile, I can put down other tabs, I could put down job search, put recruiting, recruiters, and then if I post it, then everyone in my network will see that. And Christine will be tagged, and I can tag other people. That's how the process works. Christine, does that make sense to you?
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think about it?
I think it's much easier than it was in the past. So you should, create that profile, but take a next step and take advantage of that, because people that comment on that are potential connections. Whether you have them in common or do not have anything that they say in common, it's a potential connection that you can explore what you do have in common and your likenesses.
Are we having any other questions or anything from the group?
Just the, thank you, looks good. The samples are very helpful of, responses and, taking your profile and being able to real time what to do. What does it look like as opposed to a slide?
I'm going to show like the we're hiring thing. So if I do we're hiring, I type this at the top. You have all different options coming down here. I only care specifically about people. And then from there, once the page loads up, these are all people that have we're hiring. So then when you get to this, what you can do, and I wish LinkedIn would let me do, is you can break out by industries. So I'm going to try this one more time because I'll just do hiring. That's what's so great about technology. All right, so.
Not so much LinkedIn, it's the internet.
Okay, so here's an example. I'm going to call up this person here. I'm hiring. Then I go to this person here, I'm hiring. That's great. I don't know what he's hiring for. But what I might do, and I'm actually going to do this because there's no other way to do it than to actually do it. I'm going to connect, add a note, and I'm going to say, Ryan, I noticed that you're hiring. I facilitate Jersey and would about your So this is the type of thing, again, I'm doing it from the perspective of a facilitator, but you can say, I noticed that you're hiring. I'm a member of a job support group in New Jersey and would appreciate any information you have or any advice or just something like that. I'm going to click send. And maybe you get a response back, but even if you don't, what's the harm?
Just like Kenneth said, if you do this and you figure out who's hiring and you send a note to say 12 people, what if 12 people actually get back to you like this afternoon? Do you have time to not only research the company and see if the culture's match, but respond to them in an intelligent voice. So keep it what you can handle before you actually reach out, because you don't want to burn your bridges before you actually built the bridge.
So this is an example of a connection request I got. Hi, Kenneth, excited to see that you're also attending this. Today's the last day. It'd be great to connect with you while you're there. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, the point is, most of the connection requests I get, and I'm actually going to go to the ones I accept because it's probably easier that way to understand why.
So Ken, can you explain? I'm sorry, we're gonna go back for 1 second.
Sure.
There's the first one that's customized, and it gives you a whole little spiel about, you know, how she's referring to your profile and meeting you from Corey. Then we have Raquel, and we have Rona and whatnot, but there's nothing there. What does that mean?
Well, when I see something like this, and I'm going to call this up, again, I wish that I knew where it was coming from, but I'll call up the profile and look at the person, and I'll say, you know what, they're from Portugal, they have an about section, they have followers, they have experience.
We have 5 connections in common.
Right, so I'm going to click and find out who the connections are that are in common, and I know all these people, honestly. So I would be very inclined to connect with that person.
Sometimes they're not customized, these connection requests, even though we tell people to customize them over and over and over again, we tell them. You really should take the time to customize. Some people are not on this call. Some people are not benefiting from that information, and they hit that, connect button without customizing it, such as Raquel. So maybe Ken is responding, hey, glad to connect with you.
All right, so how about if I actually do it? All right, I'm going to accept the connection request. Then there's a message. And this is so important as well.
You have to follow up with that message, because if you just let it go, there's no reason that you're connecting other than adding a number to your connections as opposed to a real relationship.
So I'm going to send a message and I'm going to say after here. This, okay, so I'm going to say, Raquel, thanks for inviting me. I noticed. So again, I would always start with, thanks for inviting me to connect. And again, a little bit of a frame of reference. If they don't fill it in, I noticed we had several connections in common. And then a call to action. Would you be open to having a follow-up conversation or whatever it is? And then I'll collect send. And I can't tell you how few people ever send out follow-ups.
I agree.
That is such a wasted opportunity to not do that. And I think that's where, and actually here, like I did this one here, I did, Jennifer, thanks so much for visiting my profile. I hope you'll also accept my LinkedIn connection request and let me know how I can help you. Now, you may never get responses from these, but you put yourself out there. And I think that's just so important. You know, the first thing you do when you come into LinkedIn is you're going to see this feed here. And you're going to see people on the feed, and you have the opportunity with any of these here to comment. Here, perfect example, Laura Palmer we're hiring a technical project manager at the New York Times to build new ways to get data into marketing, et cetera. She's the first connection. She's not posting the job. She's just telling you about it, and she's putting a link to her website. It's how you use the platform. I love everything within jobs because there's so much stuff there that's not used. Interview, the resume. I would also create a job alert. And what you do by that is you create a job alert and you determine what you want to do. So it's going to ask you down here what you want to do with it. And then you'll find out every day, you'll get jobs related to that. When you search for jobs, like I said, if you're going to search for a business analyst, that's to be what I do. You also have a thing called top applicant, which tells you that based on your background, you're a top applicant. And again, it's based on your profile. Actively recruiting. And these are just things to think about. I wish there was a way to do actively recruiting from the drop down, but there isn't. Again, it's just what you can do is you can do the date posted there, past 24 hours, all these different things.
The key with LinkedIn and job announcements is that if Ken were to click on senior business analyst and he could find the job description, instead of just applying, you want to reach out to the people that are connected to that particular person. Say, hey, I noticed that blah, blah, blah is hiring for XYZ. Do you know anything about this? Maybe you know her personally. Maybe you can connect us and get some more information instead of just using LinkedIn as a job board. Use it as a connection tool to get the job. And so you might have to go through an ATS. You might have to apply online. You might have to do all of those things that you would do on Indeed or Monster Career Builder. But with LinkedIn, you're also finding out who knows who and getting the job that way.
I was in a webinar yesterday and I actually put my LinkedIn URL in the chat and I said, feel free to connect with me. And these are the ones I got. Hello, I enjoyed participating in the webinar a few minutes ago with you. I look forward to connecting. Perfect. I said it, I mentioned it, she mentioned it, we're connected. Do I know how we're going to move forward? I don't know for sure, but I have the option now, and this is a new thing with LinkedIn. You can send, I'm looking forward to it, likewise. I always prefer to do a personalized one, but again, LinkedIn will help you out. And that's one of the reasons why I think Christine and I both say this. If you put your LinkedIn URL in the chat and save the chat, everyone on the call, you have built-in connections. And you have a frame of reference.
I agree with you, Ken. And the speaker from last week had said, send Christine an email. Let her know that you appreciated, attending today. You're looking forward to next week and blah, 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 just to keep that connection and the conversation alive. Of all the people that attended, one person sent me an email. One. They had all the information available to them, and I sent the URL to them. One person reached out to me. So you're missing out on a ton of opportunity. So now it's 1 out of 97,000 people, not 50 out of 97,000 people. Something to consider, because not everyone is taking advantage of that, like Ken said, and you really should. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get ignored? Oh, wow.
The other thing is LinkedIn Learning is now open to everyone, and I absolutely suggest you take advantage of it. When you go to LinkedIn Learning, you can search for all different skills, and there's training. Whatever you want to do, based on your picks, on your profile, it may suggest things, and it's free. It tells you what's out there. Listen to it at your own leisure. Some of the classes actually give you certifications, but use LinkedIn for things that think out of the box. Everyone uses LinkedIn for the same stuff. But this is all stuff which is out there that very few people use. I would recommend it all the time. I mean, there are all different drop downs here. Like if you were to select work, you've got all different opportunities, just as an FYI. When you do me, again, there's different things you can do here. This is actually from here where you could check your settings and the like. One thing which I always have trouble finding, and I actually had a post about it, is reaching out to LinkedIn Help for the frequently asked questions that come up. So I'm actually going to go to my feed because I remember I posted it this week. Bear with me, because I'm going to probably suggest that, Christine, I'll show this to you, and then you can. So if I go to activity, and this is another thing to do, if I go just to my posts, this will tell me what I've been posting all week. And a few days ago, I actually posted, this is actually from yesterday, by the way. So as long as we're here, this is a scenario we talked about yesterday. Working from home during the pandemic, during the Zoom conference, your camera catches your husband walking by the dining room naked. Full frontal nudity was visible. Your manager issues you a final warning. Is this legal? This was our discussion yesterday. And along those lines, we came up with, can I refuse to go to work if my workplace is unsafe because of COVID-19? And then what are the conditions? This is actually on my profile today. We did a whole presentation about it yesterday. So what I'm going to do as I'm doing this now is, here, LinkedIn has a help directory. So when you go to here, this is LinkedIn help, which no one really kind of knows where it is. But you look up here, it'll tell you getting started, known issues, how to do stuff. Known issues absolutely cracks me up because when I go to open issues, these are all the open issues that LinkedIn has. And the resolved issues. So Christine, this is kind of where we get a lot of our hint stuff from. But you can ask questions in here. There's a lot of information in here. What LinkedIn does not do is they don't tell us what's changing unless we find out. But this is a link that, Christine, I'm going to send to you because there's a lot of stuff in there. You can actually do searches for different articles and things. Would that be okay? Would you want to help?
Absolutely. And I do agree with you, Ken. If you are not finding what you're looking for, Twitter is amazing. I don't know why, but the people that run LinkedIn help are on Twitter. So if you have a question, that's a place that you can find an answer. And that goes for pretty much any platform. They're on Twitter. So I'm not telling you or endorsing that you leave LinkedIn, but if you want to find an answer, Twitter is the place.
The other thing is if you do a search with hashtags, like if I do a search on job search tip, what's going to start to show up is anything that has job search tip in it. So Shelley, have you noticed the job title highlights feature on the desktop version? I also see people focusing on it. And this is actually, I didn't even hear. Shelley, have you heard the 80-20 rule? What this means, all efforts, 80% of your results comes from 20% of your activities. I mean, it's a post. And Shelley's a great.
I read that post.
Yeah. So what, oops, sorry. So it says here, what do I think you should concentrate on? And then she has 4 bullet points, knowing your prop, etc. But connect with her because she's a great resource. Be concerned if the interviewer is not asking the questions. The interviewer seems to be going through the motions. The interviewer doesn't care about learning about you. It won't get any better when you're on the job. I mean, these are just great things to look for. And any post like this, you could post just as easily about something from your experience. I just think there's so many opportunities out there to use this platform that I want to really go through it now in real time, because I don't think a presentation in and of itself does it justice.
When you're looking at job search, there's three main components, and that's your job search plan and your resume and interview is one. That's where we have job search workshops 1 and 2. We have LinkedIn, which is the second component, and we have social media, everything else that's social, on the computer, online, whatever. So with those three things, you should be, one, coming up with your plan and knowing yourself and branding it, but 2 is more important than 1 and 3. Use LinkedIn, be engaged on LinkedIn. Everything that you want to know or be able to find is there, but you have to take action to use it. And if you don't know what your brand is and what you're looking for, you're not going to get the results that you need so you can move forward. LinkedIn is huge.
Absolutely. And then when you search, you should also be looking for the companies that you're looking to work at. Whatever it is, all companies have company pages, and you should definitely think about following them. I started this off by saying it depends, because all of these things are going to depend on what you need to do. LinkedIn is an absolute part of this, but how you use it and when you use it is going to depend on different things. So I think that's probably about all I have for now. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to go over, Christine.
No, that would be, that's great. And a lot of the things that you covered today are not necessarily covered in the even updated LinkedIn workshops that will be recorded next week. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Are there any other questions? If you would like to put, if you already have a LinkedIn profile and you want to share it, definitely put your LinkedIn address in the chat box. We can save it and then give it to everyone that is on this call and share it.
I would also, as a takeaway, go to the jobs, do the interview questions for sure. The learning too. It's so much, it'll help you out so much just to listen to what's there. Because the worst thing in the world is to be not prepared for a question that you know is going to come up. And I think there's great, and then take those and practice with each other. You know, get a job search team, get a job search buddy. Because going through job search in and of itself is such a lonely process. And the more people you have, and it doesn't have to be support like 24/7, just someone you can call up or text at a moment when you're down or whatever, just to kind of brainstorm with. What do you think? And there's strength in numbers that way for sure.
A lot of people ask, how should I reply to these questions? What should I say? What's the right lingo? Well, a lot of it is there and it's in front of you. You just need to take action and listen and read it and come up, mold it to your own situation. And that way you have an answer. What are the right words? What are the wrong words? What's the do's? What's the don'ts? Everything is right there. You just need to utilize it.
And it's
Instead
okay.
of, you know, exactly what Ken said, just, you know, come on in, take the first step.
And it's okay to be in transition now, especially. Not that it's ever okay to be in transition, but you know, you're not alone, which is true, but you feel alone. And owning what you have, your skills are your skills. They don't change when you go from place to place. If you want to change your skills, then reflect on your profile. If you want to do a pivot, which is a nice way of saying I have to go to a different industry, same thing. Just think about the transferable skills you have. You're not defined by your job.
All right, comments. Thank you. Session was very helpful. Learned some great tips, very beneficial. So thank you so much. I appreciate you attending, and hopefully we'll have Ken on again to share again new updates. LinkedIn is always changing. There's lots of stuff that's always new. So keep him on his toes.
And I'm happy to reach to talk to any of you after the call. I tried to really cover as much as possible, but everyone has specific needs and questions. So just reach out to me, but let me know that you're reaching out to me as a result of this call. I mean, just as an FYI, I mean, just build it out that way. Or if you want to connect, the references, I was on the call. It's not how I did on the call or didn't do. It's just that frame of reference, because I get hundreds of requests and I block a lot of them out. And it's unfortunate because the ones I really want to connect with just get lost. So it's just a frustration, because all of us want to help as many people as possible. We try to do it the best way we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know?
That's it for today. I appreciate the feedback and, you know, what you thought and what you liked. And is there anything you didn't like? Anybody? I can't imagine that there was, but you know, you never know. I know it's very overwhelming. There's a lot of information, but please just take it step by step, baby steps, and get to the point where you are comfortable. So some people, it requires reinventing, starting from scratch and getting their profile up to date. Some people are already on there and we need some tweaks and then learn all the new stuff. So everyone's in a different position, different place, different amount of connections.
And don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid if it's a typo or something else. Don't be afraid. No one's gonna put a hand on you and say wrong, 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 XXX, red X. It doesn't work that way.
We're all human.
Absolutely.
We all make mistakes and it's okay. So cut yourself some slack, really. You know, you can't be perfect. Unless you're a robot, of course.
That's a whole different discussion.
That's a whole different thing, yes. All right, I will definitely post this video so you can rewatch it if you'd like, as well as the slides, and send you the URL link, which has Ken's email, his phone number, his work email, LinkedIn address, all that good stuff. So definitely feel free to connect with him on LinkedIn and ask him any questions you would like.
Definitely.
And I will see you in December for our next guest speaker. You will get information on that as well. So, all right.
And a great holiday, everyone.
Have a wonderful holiday. Enjoy it as best as you can.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.